Hello, beautiful mamas. As a working mom, sometimes I can really feel scattered, unorganized, or simply just rushing from one thing to another and all over the place. Finding time for myself and finding my sanity can almost feel like an impossible dream. Can you relate? Well, this is why I have created my free Mama's Guide to Creating Balance and Harmony as my gift to you. This guide contains my top 10 tips to creating balance and harmony in your life, as well as 3 beautiful trackers to help you get onto your journey in a fun and simple way. I have found by incorporating daily self-care routines and practices in my life for as little as 5 minutes a day, I am feeling more grounded, centered, and calm. By me tapping into my best version through these practices, I am also a better mom, a better partner, and a better colleague. Well, really, just a better human being in all the ways. So, if this sounds like something that you would like to explore, click on the link in the show notes below and download your free guide today.
We were all born with the innate power of knowing and wisdom within us. The challenge for many of us is that we were taught to seek answers externally instead of searching from within. And this is the reason why so many of us find ourselves going around in circles, searching for new ways, but could never find the way. The womanly way. It's not the way. It's not my way. But it is a pathway to support all of us returning back to self, reconnect with our inner wisdom through loving ourselves, knowing ourselves, and reconnecting with ourselves.
Tell me and be honest. Tell me should I've known.
So we can start to find our own way as modern day women. Are you interested? Well, sit back, relax, and welcome to this amazing journey.
Hello. Welcome to this episode of the Womanly Way podcast. I am your host, Lala Angela Wang. I feel like I can finally relax today because tomorrow, George and I are flying to New Zealand for a 1-week break to catch up with my mom and my dad. My dad decided to take a break as well and fly to New Zealand because he normally lives in Taiwan. Fly to New Zealand and spend a month with my mom. They are separated in terms of where they live, but they're actually not legally separated. They're still married and they're still very much a unit. That's probably another conversation for another day. Actually, might be a great podcast material, which we can talk about maybe when I'm not living under the same roof with them, so it doesn't feel like I'm talking behind their back. So yes, there will definitely be another podcast episode for another day. For today, what I do want to talk about is something that I saw a couple of days ago from one of my friends. It's a Chinese article, or a Taiwanese article that talked about there's a guy in New York. And from talking about his own experience and what he has learned from his mistakes in relationships, he has created essentially a career for himself as a husband coach. And my friend's like, oh my God, I can be such a good husband coach just by, my own experience telling men what they've done wrong. You don't have to pay me much, right? But that really got me thinking, is having a husband coach like the cure or the solution for modern day marriages? Is having a husband coach what we need to reduce divorce rate for more happy women? And I'm going to say no. And this is really based on my own experience, right? I think that is one of the solutions, and depending on the relationship. But I believe in the majority of the cases, it's probably not going to be the only solution that you need in your relationship. Yes, it's saved a lot of marriage. This guy has saved many, many, many marriages by sharing his story and by helping guys realizing this things they could do differently. But for the same token, if guys needs a husband coach, then I believe all women needs a wife coach. And so I'm going to take this question to the next level and almost challenge all male and female out there. Right? I'm not leaning towards one gender more than the other. But all I'm saying is, for any relationship to work, we really need to look at this concept of finger pointing. So if you just hold your hand out and pretend you're finger pointing somebody, like, having your index finger pointing towards somebody, just look at how many other fingers are pointing back towards you. Likely 3. And I think, coming from my own experience, when I first got separated from my ex-husband, really there's a lot of blame because I feel I was hard done by. There's a lot of unjust. I just felt very hurt. And when we are hurt, really all we want to do is blame. But as I'm starting to step into personal development and start to really look at what self-love means to me, I start to really adopt this concept of personal responsibility. And I truly believe personal responsibility is a part of self-love that gets missed so often. So our self-love becomes almost like a spoil kind of love. Like when you spoil your child too much with love, it can backfire, right? You then create brats. And I think this is what this whole self-love movement has led to, because we're missing this critical part called personal responsibility. And what this means is sometimes we do have to be our toughest critics. We do have to have some tough love on ourselves. And it is hard, and it requires a lot of bravery when things don't turn out the way that we want it in life. We ask ourselves the hard question: what's my part to play in this? What part do I have to play to be responsible for this result? And this is what true leadership really is. This is what true leadership really is, right? To take responsibility of not just your action, but your team's action. Lately I have a colleague of mine, and she came to me and she was talking about her relationship issues, and she's like, would you recommend any other way? And she's like, I know I am the common denominator. So I really want to find ways I can work on myself. And I recommended her to go to a relationship coach. And not just any relationship coach, but a relationship coach that specializes in looking into her patterns and looking at, perhaps there were traumas, perhaps there were limiting beliefs, but really looking at the shadow work, the healing, and the mindset stuff, the neural pathways. I even recommended her to kinesiology, because that's another good way to find out what is your body really feeling, and what are some of the memories that's stored in the body. And the reason I say that is because, I've been through this myself, And really what I find is a lot of times our decision about relationship it really stems from our decision about ourselves and who we believe we are and what we believe that we deserve. And you might be at this stage going, well, Lala, aren't you a coach that coaches relationship as well? Why can't you do it? Well, that's because here are my personal boundaries and my values around who I coach and the relationships around me, right? I don't coach family, I don't coach friends, and I don't coach colleagues. Because family and friends, because we have that close connection, I don't believe I can give them the best result because I am personally emotionally invested. So my judgment could be a little bit biased, right? And I want them to have the best results. Someone who has got an unbiased opinion that is able to see the truth for what it is. Whereas I am emotionally invested in these relationships, so then therefore I cannot give them the best unbiased opinions. With colleagues, I really don't want to taint the relationships. I think there's a professional relationship and there's a personal relationship. And coaches being a coach or mentor to somebody is actually to me a very personal relationship, and I really don't want to blur the line between my professional boundaries and my personal boundaries, and my professional relationship and my personal relationship, right? Because often in coaching and mentoring we talk about very private matters, but colleagues perhaps not, unless we become really good friends. So that's why, if you're a colleague of mine, if you're a friend of mine, it's highly likely I will recommend you to someone else. And that's just the boundaries and the expectations and the standard that I hold for myself, right? Because I want to make sure that you have the best result, you have the best outcome, and you're free to say what you want to say without thinking about who I know, what I know, whether that will affect our relationship or not. Now I digress a little bit, but back to the topic of personal responsibility and personal development. When I first started this whole journey, I thought once I worked on myself, it's done. What I didn't realize is this is a point, like going on the path of personal development is a path that there's once you're on this path, there's no looking back. Right? It's like playing computer games, right? You go each level, you go one level, up level. So essentially you're pretty much ascending to various levels. And personal development is, I don't care what everybody else says, it is a path to ascension. It is a path to ascension. It may not be the Buddhist way. It may not be the Catholic's way. It may not be a religious way. But it is a way to ascension. And this, I want to share my story. And at the end of it, I think you'll understand why. So when I first started personal development on relationship, right? I started on relationship because I want to find my soulmate. And I remember going to this coach and she's like, well, okay, list out everything that you want with your soulmate, including how he looks, how he talks, what's the behaviors, what are the habits, all those things. And once I listed them all out, she's like, okay, let's look at this list. And whatever and let's just look at how many of these qualities that you actually have. Obviously, hair color, eye color, height, all that sort of things is that's outside of my control. But everything else, things like he's fit and healthy, he loves the outdoors, he is active, he's kind, all those things, all those qualities. Let's go through them and see how many of those that you have. So at the time, not many. Right, and I didn't have that many of the things that I wanted my soulmate to have. So then she said, well, okay, so your task, your homework now, is to focus on being the best, the version, like improve yourself so you became what you want to see in your soulmate. So you became that version of what you want to see in your soulmate, because like attracts like. And unless you can become the person that you wanted to attract, you will not be able to attract the person. But I also truly believe this is all to do with divine timing as well, because if you look at Scott and I, we both started personal development around the same time, right? But if we were to meet about even 6 months earlier, we wouldn't have liked each other, because he has not reached the level that I wanted my soulmate to be, and I have not reached the level that he wanted his soulmate to be. And it just happened when we met, we were both at the right level where we were like, yeah, I like to be with this person, and they meet the criteria and the things that I look for in a partner. Right? It's really like computer games. Like if you are at level 20 on a computer game trying to fight this monster who's at level 30, you're gonna go bum 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 and die pretty quickly, right? And that's why you keep practicing, you keep up leveling yourself, and you get to level 30, and then fighting this monster at level 30. You might still have a little bit of a challenge, but you can handle it, right? Because you're at the right level. You're at the same level. Like seriously, if Scott and I were to meet 6 months ago, a year ago, before we actually meet, like earlier, we'd probably hate each other. And this relationship probably would not last. George would not exist. And so I really believe in timing. But it's also remembering that growth is like peeling an onion. I know it's such an overused term, but there's always the next layer. Like right now, I'm working on my self-love and my health. There's always the next layer. And the funny thing is, we all have one or two things that we're meant to work on in this lifetime. And those things will keep coming back at you at the different levels. Like for me now, going back to exercising is my kryptonite, right? If you look at my personal astrology chart, in the 6th house where it says health and career, I have nothing there. So it's actually one of the most challenging parts of my astrology chart. It's one of the most challenging parts of my life. And whenever I need to grow, whenever I need to focus on self-love, that I always know that's the number one area I need to look at my health. It's not just physical health, it's mental, emotional, spiritual as well, right? And that really, to me, is one of my biggest kryptonite and one of my biggest lessons I have to learn in this lifetime. How do I love myself? And through self-love, improve my relationship with others. And this lesson just continues to show up every time I feel like I'm up leveling. Every time I feel like I've hit the nail in the head, there it comes. The next challenge at the next level. So, why am I talking about this? Because I really truly feel for any relationship to work, we need to stop finger pointing. We need to stop saying to the other person, you need to see a counselor, you need to see a coach, you need to improve yourself. Because it's likely if that person, if your partner, your husband, your boyfriend needs support, you would be too. But also the other thing is, once they had the support, they've up-leveled. Are you still at the same level as them? Maybe they've actually up-leveled beyond your level now, right? And I know this is like so cruel, but you probably don't deserve them anymore. Now they're all better, right?
But it comes down back to this responsibility piece. Before you judge others, have you actually held up the mirror and looked at yourself and see what you need to work on? Because it's likely whatever you don't like about them, there's a part of you that you don't like about yourself as well. Scott actually sent me this reel the other day, and I was talking about how these women were asking another podcast host, can't remember the name of the podcast now. They were like, do you believe that we all deserve an emotional, intelligent man? And I love the response coming from the host. She's like, well, you need to think about this. An emotional, intelligent man is not going to take your bullshit, right? The moment they sense that you are full of emotions and you're just like non-logical and you're just a crybaby, they're going to call you out, right? They're going to use their logic, their emotional intelligence to sort you out. Because it's likely they have a high standard for themselves and they have a high standard for the people around them, and they will have strong boundaries. The moment that you try to play your little tantrums, he will pull you up because you've crossed the boundary. Because they're very likely, how do I say this? It's very likely that they have very high standard for themselves and very high standard for the people around them. So do you really think that you can handle a man who has high emotional intelligence, high EQ? To be able to be their equal, you too will need to have high emotional intelligence, right? Just like what I said, to find your soulmate, you need to become your soulmate first, because like attracts like. And to do so, it really requires a lot of discipline, self-responsibility, and really be brave enough to call yourself out and say, well, no, that's not acceptable. That is not acceptable behavior. And seriously, it requires so much bravery, because you really have to be your own toughest critic and go to the depth, the deepest depth of the shadow, and go, okay, I need to face my shadow. I need to face myself and say to myself, there's something that we need to work on. This is not acceptable, right? And really be brave enough to face your shadow, because not everybody can do it. People just say, although I feel unjust by the situation, I have a part to play. And I need to find out what is my part to play and how can I fix it so it doesn't happen again. You know, it's like my colleague who came to me, she's like, oh my God, I just keep getting into this relationship and it just gets shittier and shittier and shittier. And she has got the awareness to say, you know what, I am the common denominator and I know I need to work on it, because if I don't, it's just going to get worse, and I don't want it to get worse because it's already pretty horrible. And I really admire her for that bravery to be able to say that to herself, but also to say it to me, because we're colleagues, but we're not good friends. You know, to admit to people that are not your family or you're not friends, that you have got something that you need to work on, that is bravery. And that is self-accountability. To say, I need help. And I'm willing to ask and to get help.
So I guess the key takeaway for today, I was inspired by this article that I saw about the husband coach. But I really want to challenge you all to think about, is that it? And the answer is not, right? To really take personal responsibilities. That's what I really want to challenge you on. To take personal responsibilities and to be brave enough to challenge yourself on your thinking whenever you feel like hard done by. And go, what is my part to play in this? What am I responsible for? How am I responsible for the situation? And how can I take control of the situation and improve on it? Because what you find is when it becomes a habit, when it becomes a muscle that you exercise, even though it's hard, your outlook in life will be so much more different. You'll be more confident because you know, as long as you ask the right questions, you hold yourself accountable, you will be able to resolve these things, and you'll feel that you have a lot more control over your life because you're no longer blaming on other people, and your life is no longer a result of other people's action because you are in charge, you are responsible, and therefore you celebrate the good things, but when shit hits the fan, you jump on it and you can fix it. You will no longer feel hopeless because you can fix it. Always sing this song to myself, right? Bob the Builder. Bob the Builder, we can fix it. Can you fix it? Yes, we can. Yes, you can always fix it. But that requires you to take personal responsibilities and take control of the situation. But also what you find is life becomes a lot more positive. Because you're in control, and if you're in control, you can fix it. It's no longer hopeless. And for me, I think this is a key to my more positive outlook in life. Because I know if I can take responsibility of my own life, if I can hold myself accountable for everything that happens around me, then I can hold myself accountable to create the environment, the world, and a space that I truly desire. So if I can operate every single day from that place, and also from a place of connecting to the divine and feel like everything that I do that is divine guided, and be in that space, what's not to love about life? There's so much more gratitude. There's a lot less blame. And yeah, it's just more positive and more, I think a lot of the negativity, the anxiety, the depression really comes from that feeling of not being in control. Because it's everyone else's fault. It's the world against you. But if we take away the world against me, it's not everyone against me, and I can actually control the situation, I can guarantee you, your relationship will improve. And then if you've done that and the other person is still a dickhead, then yes, you can say I've done everything, and out of respect and love for myself, I decided to walk away from the situation. Of course, I'm not saying that every man's right. I'm also not saying that every woman's right. Right? Every situation is different. But start by empowering yourself and take responsibility. Because the end result, even though the end result might be the same, divorce or separation or, passing your own ways, might still be on the cards. It might still be the end result. But what's different is you walk away with a new relationship with yourself. And I think that's the best gift you can give yourself in any stage of life. So that's me for today. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. As per usual, if you have any feedback, if you would like to discuss anything, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. All my contact information are in the show note below. Love you so, so, so much. And just remember, you deserve to give yourself the best that you can. And that includes holding yourself accountable, holding yourself responsible, and be brave about facing the challenges in life and allowing yourself to be the best version that you can by working on your shadows, by asking yourself the hard questions with love. Love you all so, so, so much, and I will talk to you next time. Bye bye.